President Yoon Suk-yeol, who's now in Prague, is set to meet Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala to seek cooperation on nuclear power, trade, and investment, having wrapped up his summit with Czech President Petr Pavel. The U.S. Treasury Department has slapped fresh sanctions on entities and individuals related to Russia for allegedly contributing to illicit financial transactions between Russia and North Korea. Israel has carried out intense airstrikes on southern Lebanon, raising fears of an escalation of the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. It's September 20th, 6 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. On day 2 of President Yoon Suk-yeol's official visit to the Czech Republic, the South Korean leader will hold a one-on-one meeting with Prime Minister Petr Fiala to discuss ways to strengthen the Korea-Czech relationship. Our presidential correspondent Oh Soo-young is in Prague to fill us in on the details. Soo-young, walk us through what will happen in just a few hours. President Yoon met with the Czech head of state yesterday. What will be the purpose of his meeting with the Prime Minister?
Sure, Tong-min. So President Yoon Suk-yeol will hold a summit and joint press conference with Czech Prime Minister Petr Fiala on Friday, focusing on business and economic relations. And during their meeting, the two leaders are likely to oversee the signing of various memorandums of understanding, including a bilateral trade and investment promotion framework. Now, this would lay the institutional basis for further economic exchanges between the two countries across various industries. Now, this includes, obviously, nuclear cooperation, which has been pretty much the focus of President Yoon's trip so far. And while in the standalone summit with Fiala, President Yoon plans to indeed emphasize Seoul's commitment to supporting a nuclear reactor building consortium, Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power, in securing the final contract for the Dukovany nuclear power plant project. The Czech Republic is keen on having local businesses involved, so President Yoon is likely to set out ways or explore ideas on how to collaborate across all sectors of the nuclear power ecosystem. In fact, Yoon and Fiala are expected to visit major nuclear energy-related sites prior to their summit and working lunch at the Liechtenstein Palace, which serves as a guest house for state visitors. Now, as you mentioned, President Yoon has indeed already held a summit with the head of state, the Czech President Petr Pavel, and touched upon diplomatic, security and defence-related issues. Now, these include enhancing the nuclear power cooperation, enhancing their bilateral relations ahead of the 35-year diplomatic milestone next year, and providing humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. However, the Czech Prime Minister, though, he's the head of government, so he primarily oversees economic and social policy making, so his discussions with President Yoon will touch upon mostly economic cooperation.
So this all shows how the two countries are broadening and deepening their relations.
That's exactly right, Tong-min. So as the two countries agreed on Thursday to enhance their bilateral ties from its current strategic cooperation, there are increasing political exchanges expected as well. So President Yoon will later on Friday be holding separate meetings with key members of the lower and upper houses of the Czech Parliament to request their interest and cooperation in deepening bilateral relations. President Yoon and First Lady Kim Gon-hee will then wrap up the second day of their official visit by attending a dinner and meeting with Korean nationals living in the Czech Republic before returning to Seoul on Saturday.
And we will, of course, bring our viewers live coverage of the joint press conference between President Yoon and Prime Minister Fiala later tonight. Thank you, Soo-young, for keeping us updated.
No problem, Tong-min.
Also in the Czech Republic, President Petr Pavel took the time to speak exclusively with Arirang TV to share his prospects for a greater partnership with South Korea to promote bilateral prosperity and broader security. Once again, here is our correspondent Oh Soo-young to cover his remarks.
South Korea and the Czech Republic have a very promising future ahead in nuclear energy, security and high-tech cooperation based on their shared values as liberal democracies. That's according to Czech President Petr Pavel in an exclusive interview with Arirang TV. having agreed with President Yoon to enhance their strategic partnership in their summit on Thursday. The Czech leader highlighted the two countries' budding bilateral ties, particularly after Prague selected a South Korean consortium as the preferred bidder for its Dukovany nuclear power plant project.
We also believe in a great potential of developing this cooperation further on, not only on our own nuclear power plant, but also extending that cooperation and good record from I hope, a successful project to other European countries, especially in Central and Eastern Europe, who will be interested in securing their energy supplies through nuclear power.
In the face of objections by US firm Westinghouse, which claims intellectual property rights over Korea's source technology for the reactors, the Czech leader said it would also benefit the American company if the dispute is settled soon.
Both sides, KCHP and Westinghouse, because with the technology of Westinghouse and the Korean production capacity and experience and guarantees, I believe that it gives us the best possible mixture of parameters that we are looking for. And of course, for both companies, it will be better to close these disputes by settlement rather than ongoing legal disputes.
As the two countries look to broaden the horizons of bilateral cooperation beyond energy security, Pavel also highlighted key strategic industries such as ICT, artificial intelligence, high-speed rail and transport grids, along with space technology. These collaborations are all the more crucial between like-minded partners as geopolitical interests and conflicting values blur the line between national and economic security. With rising concerns about military cooperation between Russia and North Korea in the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine, Pavel stressed the importance of strengthening ties with South Korea in defense, security, and fighting disinformation.
We have a number of views that are very similar with South Korea, so I believe that cooperating with such a country is a natural choice. We are not only economic partners, we are also partners in tourism, in culture, but we are also partners in NATO, because South Korea is a partner to NATO, because we believe that we share also our security interests.
As the Yoon administration aims to bolster South Korea's role in defending freedom, prosperity and the rule of law as a global pivotal state, the Czech leader noted he and Yoon share similar worldviews against the rise of authoritarianism. Furthermore, sharing his personal experience of Korean culture from his visit in 2016, Pavel said he enjoyed Korean cuisine and history, particularly rural areas and monasteries, as he called for greater cultural exchanges. The two countries will celebrate 35 years of bilateral relations and 10 years of establishing a strategic partnership next year. Young, Arirang News, Prague.
And our business correspondent Lee Soo-jin explains what's special about Korea's nuclear power technology in light of its push to expand exports of nuclear reactors to Europe.
South Korea's nuclear power plant capabilities are once again in the spotlight amid President Yoon's visit to the Czech Republic. The trip comes after a South Korean consortium led by Korea Hydro and Nuclear Power in July was selected as the preferred bidder over France's Électricité de France to build at least 2 nuclear power units. The 2 units planned for the Dukovany nuclear power station are APR-1000 reactors, a smaller version of the APR-1400s previously built by South Korea at the Baraka nuclear energy plant in the United Arab Emirates. The APR-1000 generates a power output of around 1,000 megawatts of electricity, which is less than the APR-1400's 1,400 megawatts, but makes it more suitable for the Czech Republic's lower electricity demand. It also costs around half of what is required to build France's APR-1200.
We have a fully, completed supply chain. We can build the nuclear power plant at the right time, and by building the nuclear power plant at the right time, we could save a lot of money.
The reactor was also certified by the European Utility Requirements Association last year, meeting more than 5,000 requirements and complies with the latest requirements of the International Atomic Energy Agency and the Western European Nuclear Regulators Association. Meeting these standards is critical at a time when European countries like the Czech Republic are turning to nuclear power to go carbon neutral by 2050. If the deal is finalized in March next year, it could create further opportunities for South Korea to expand exports across Europe. But challenges remain, namely U.S. firm Westinghouse's claims of intellectual property rights over Korea's source technology for the reactors.
The basis of the protest is it's related with the nuclear export control. It's a kind of international agreement to not to export their technology to the some rogue countries which might misuse the nuclear technology. But Korea and the U.S. government, we have a kind of alliance for nuclear power.
This alliance, he says, makes it likely that an agreement will eventually be reached, especially as a U.S. firm also has a long history of cooperation with South Korea. With Yoon's trip to the Czech Republic further ensuring success in securing the deal, South Korea is expected to soon cement its position as a key nuclear technology exporter to Europe. 이수진, Arirang News.
The U.S. Treasury Department has imposed sanctions on a network of 5 entities and 1 individual based in Russia and a Russia-occupied region for having supported illicit payment mechanisms with North Korea. Our North Korean affairs correspondent Kim Jong-sil reports.
The U.S. Department of the Treasury's Office of Foreign Assets Control released a statement on Thursday local time that it had designated a network of 5 entities and 1 individual for assisting North Korea and Russia to establish illicit payment mechanisms. The parties held accountable are based in Russia and the Russian-occupied Georgian region of South Ossetia, said the statement. In particular, MRB Bank, based in Georgia's South Ossetia region, acted as a cutout for a designated Russian bank to establish a secret banking relationship with North Korea's foreign trade bank. The Russian bank facilitated cash deposits from the North Korean bank through Russian entities to ensure the delivery of millions of dollars and rubles to the North's bank accounts at MRB Bank. The statement said at least some of the North Korean accounts at MRB were used to pay for fuel exports from Russia to North Korea. It noted that Russia has become increasingly dependent on North Korea for weapons procurement and economic cooperation, adding that Thursday's sanctions demonstrate the Putin regime's use of illicit financial schemes to enable North Korea to access the international banking systems which violate multiple United Nations Security Council resolutions. The U.S. government added that the sanctions demonstrate its commitment to exposing and disrupting networks that facilitate the funding of the DPRK's unlawful weapons of mass destruction and ballistic missile programs and support Russia's illegal war against Ukraine. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Here in South Korea, another North Korean balloon has been found on the premises of the Seoul Gov't Complex. Earlier on this Friday morning, authorities discovered related debris at the edge of the parking lot near the complex's main entrance. The balloon consisted primarily of household trash. North Korean balloons also previously landed on the roof of the government complex in May. Following the U.S. Federal Reserve's big rate cut of 50 basis points, big banks are placing their bets on how fast future rate cuts will come. According to a Bloomberg report on Friday, JP Morgan's chief economist predicted that the next cut to come will be another jumbo slash of 0.5 percentage point in November. In contrast, his counterpart in Goldman Sachs said that the Fed will go for a longer string of quarter-point cuts from November through to June next year. Policymakers in the FOMC meeting on Wednesday forecast half-point cuts by the end of the year. In the Middle East, Israel has carried out intense airstrikes on southern Lebanon, targeting key Hezbollah sites. This further raises tensions in the region following the fatal explosions of communication gadgets in Lebanon in recent days. Park Go-nu has more.
Tensions are escalating in the Middle East. The Israeli military carried out large-scale airstrikes on southern Lebanon on Thursday local time, targeting around 100 rocket launchers and terrorist infrastructure sites. Its aircraft also produced a wave of sonic booms for about 20 minutes, which was reportedly a separate show of strength. On the same day, Hezbollah struck northern Israel 17 times, reportedly killing 2 Israeli soldiers. This comes after the Lebanon-based leader of Hezbollah gave his first broadcast speech after the explosions of pagers and walkie-talkie radios in the past few days, which killed at least 37 and injured 3,000 more in both Lebanon and Syria. The Hezbollah chief said the recent detonation of the devices crossed red lines and accused Israel of what he said represented a declaration of war.
The enemy violated, through this attack, all the regulations, laws, and red lines.
Israel hasn't made an official statement regarding the explosions, but has tacitly acknowledged its role by declaring it'll continue military attacks on Hezbollah.
Over the past several days, we have held a series of important discussions. This is a new phase of the war. It includes opportunities, but also significant risks. Hezbollah feels that it is being persecuted, and the sequence of military and defense actions will continue.
The U.S. meanwhile emphasized the need for diplomatic solutions, while reaffirming that there will be no change to its military posture in the Middle East.
We are committed to the defense of Israel against terrorist organizations. That includes Hamas, it includes Hezbollah, includes other Iranian proxies. We will continue to stand by Israel's right to defend itself. But we don't want to see any party escalate this conflict, period.
Along with the fears of war getting wider, the UN Security Council is scheduled to meet on Friday to discuss the recent mass explosions. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
On the cultural front, streaming platform Netflix dropped a new teaser trailer and poster for season 2 of its original series, Squid Game. The teaser, first revealed on Friday during Netflix's Geeked Week, hinted at contestants playing new children's games involving the winner in season 1, Ki-hoon. Squid Game, released in 2021, is a Korean drama directed by Hwang Dong-hyuk. It featured hundreds of people competing in deadly survival games based on children's games for a prize. Season 2 will premiere on December 26th, featuring Lee Jung-jae and Lee Byung-hun among various other Korean actors. We're back with our arts and culture segment this Friday. That means we have our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin joining us in the studio. Welcome, Yoo-jin.
Happy Friday, Jungmin.
Happy Friday. What do you have for us today?
Well, Jungmin, today I want to talk about musicals because this year we've seen several Korean productions taking the stage internationally, even in places that are being called as the home of musicals. So what's behind the rising popularity of K-musicals? Let's find out. Broadway is a stage that many in the musical world dream of, having been the epicenter of theatrical magic for centuries. Among the bright lights and grand theaters is the Broadway Theater, one of the largest in New York City. Since April, it's been home to the musical, The Great Gatsby. The mastermind behind this show is Korean musical producer Shin Chun-soo, the first Asian to solely lead produce a Broadway musical.
Producing one of America's most beloved stories was a challenging task. I found parallels between the 1920s and the present day and aimed to capture the bittersweet irony and the tragic grandeur of Gatsby's world, expressing the emotions of the characters through the music.
With no set closing date, the production is on an open run, aiming for 5 years. This means the show will keep running as long as there is an audience wanting to see it. But The Great Gatsby is just one part of a larger story. Earlier this year, Marie Curie made a successful West End debut in London at the Charing Cross Theatre. And just this month, Frida, the Last Night Show, had its US premiere at the University of Southern California's Bing Theatre. So what exactly is fueling the rise of Korean musicals on the international stage? Industry insiders say it's a combination of quality and passion. Actress Kim So-hyang, who starred in both Frida and Marie Curie in Korea, reflects on how far Korean musicals have come.
I believe it's our relentless dedication to creating something extraordinary. There's a special charm in how we craft these stories. For example, with Frida, the powerful narratives that let women voice their strength seem to mesmerize the audience.
For years, word has spread among foreign producers about the quality of Korean musicals and the talent of our actors. Government support has also helped smaller productions find opportunities abroad. In just the first half of this year, Korea staged over 9,000 performances, an impressive figure that's driving rapid growth for actors and production teams. To keep the momentum going and help Korean musicals shine even brighter on the global stage, tailored support is essential.
The government has been supporting small original works, allowing for creative experimentation. However, larger productions need more flexibility, and the government could assist by providing infrastructure like rehearsal space or production studios. To help musicals expand internationally, it could also address regulatory barriers that hinder exports.
We need to build tryout theatres where shows can test their material before full-scale premieres. Currently, musicals often jump straight from rehearsals to opening night without the chance to refine their performances.
Through these efforts, Korean musicals will be able to capture the hearts of more audiences around the world.
You know what, Eugene? It's clear that dedication and passion behind Korean musicals are surely driving their rise.
Right.
But it's not just homegrown productions. Imported and licensed musicals also have become part of mainstream culture in Korea. Why is that?
Right, so according to the industry insiders and experts I spoke with, they say that the reason why Korea's musical scene is so thriving these days is thanks to the young audience. So musicals here in Korea really took off back in the early 2000s with the first run of the Phantom of the Opera here in the country. And after that, young people started getting more interested in musicals, especially when K-pop stars like Kim Jun-soo started performing in them. Now, when compared to other countries, theater audiences tend to be older, often in their 50s or 60s, but here it's mostly those in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. And that's why people say Korea's musical future looks so bright, because our audience is young, passionate, and also continuously growing.
And finally, what are some ways Korean musicals can grow their fan base beyond, just relying on government support?
So one way is using universal themes or selecting stories that a lot of international audiences are familiar with, such as the classic The Great Gatsby and also Marie Curie. And for larger productions in big theaters, they're actually eyeing options to reach more people through video versions, whether that's on DVD or by screening them in cinemas. So for example, while it's not a Korean original, the Korean production of Elizabeth is set to premiere as a film version next month here in Korea. So exporting content like this will allow audiences around the world to enjoy more Korean musicals anytime, anywhere.
Our culture correspondent, Song Yujin, thank you.
My pleasure.
Heavy rain warnings have been issued in the center and northern regions of the country, including Seoul. As it is predicted to rain a lot, you should pay special attention to landslide damage. Currently, the landslide crisis warning nationwide, except for Jeju Island, has been raised to the caution level. Until Sunday, heavy rains of up to 300 millimeters are predicted on the east coast and mountainous areas of Gangwon-do province, up to 250 in the mountainous areas of Jeju Island, and 120 to 150 millimeters in the Seoul metropolitan area. Seoul will start off at 19 degrees Celsius. Highs will move up to 23 in Daejeon, Daegu, and Gyeongju. It is expected to mostly sunny next week with weather slightly above average temperature. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session coming up.